Okay, there we are. A little project here that I've been toying with just lately and talking about a lot is this small linear here. So what we are going to try and do today is put some of the component parts into place. The component parts I would like to do first is not what they suggest. They suggest I do the toroids first and wind them and get them ready. I'd rather set up the resistors. I've had a look through the book and it's showing you what to do as you go through the book. This was done by a friend of mine over in Torquay, G8 station. He said he was going to come on regularly on the radio, but he hasn't been on for a while. And there's this binding tape here, which I haven't got that. I don't know whether ordinary adhesive tape will do, or whether it has to be that particular type of thing. So as I say, what I see here, it shows you how to wind the toroids. I wanted to build this for 10 meters. I told them I wanted it for 10 and they said this will do. Now it shows you here various turns for the bands that you can use this QRP from QRP Labs in America. I thank very much for those guys over there. I want to put on the board today, if possible, all the diodes, all the resistors and capacitors, and various other little bits and pieces, and then play with the toroids afterwards. I think that might be a good thing to do. So I would like to try and sort that out. I've got my soldering station out and we're ready to start doing what we got to do. We got to install a low pass filter on here, which we will obviously sort out a little later on. So as I say, what I want to do is put basically the main component parts on the board, being the resistors, the diodes, etc. So we will go through the book and we will sort out what we need to do. It looks a good project to be building from QRP Labs. A 50 watts linear amplifier. Or is it just a linear? It's just a linear, I think. It hasn't got a preamp built into it, so there we are anyway. Now, enough talk from me and seeing my face. Let's see the stage of where we're going to be doing the work, and also what has got to go where. So I better open up the little kit. They have sent me this little box. I've been toying with the idea of doing this for a little while, so without further ado, I reckon I should open up the box, taking out the component parts, etc. So we'll put the box on the side here. So undo this and make sure we have got all the component parts that we need in this package. So opening it, this is how it came, all wrapped up like this with bubble wrap, sticky tape. There's a box here full of toroids, capacitors, some small resistors, and some small diodes. Now we have to look at the board. They also sent some wire in here, making up the board. Now, one thing I must state here is either end of the board here and here there was a small strip which you have to break off, otherwise it's not going to go in the box. So they have already put some component parts on the board. There's some little diodes there, they're already on the board, but there's some diodes and some resistors got to be put on this board before I want to put the main component parts, like the big transistors. There's two big transistors go here and here, so and that's going to be one of the main things, and they bolt onto, through this hole, they bolt onto the heatsink, which is here, which I will show you in a minute. Some more component parts there, some of the big resistors, the small LED, red LED and a green LED here. One's transmit and one's receive light, and we've got some screws. Oh, we've got mains input. Never gave you wire for that though, you know. They're giving you everything else, but there's no, not mains, sorry, to the power supply. So I want these resistors, and I've got the diodes here in this pack, so I want those resistors out, and I will show you the little box here. I have partly assembled that. I have had this package open, so come here. They're little standoffs for the feet, for the box itself. Now this is our heatsink. Oops, where are we? There we are. And this is how it goes together, like this. See if I've got that right. Oops. And this is our little box. These heatsink components here, they fit on. They fit on here like this. So we have one heatsink there and one heatsink there, and we have some little nuts and bolts to bolt these things on with. Oh dear me. So, and this is our little box that we put our board in. So the way I gather it is, the one end of this has a switch on, and the other end has the diodes on. That slides in there. Right. There we are. That's it in half of the box. The other half has to be made, but I'm just doing this just to show you. Right, now then, I've got the soldering iron, I've got the solder ready to go. In fact, I might change the solder. I will see how this goes with this project, but I might change the solder for some solder that I have had for quite a while. But it isn't here, it's down the other end. But nevertheless, we will try and use the new solder, which I don't like. You either like things or you don't, and I don't like this one. Some resistors out of here. I want to start building the board. Now we got some small resistors and 1/4 watt, 1/2 watt, and big 1 watt ones. I should imagine they're about a 1 watt resistor, so they're fairly big compared to its little little brother there. So as I say, they're fairly big resistors, and they're about half to 1 watt. I'm not sure what the calibration is for that. We got several of these nice big ones, and they've got to go on the board. So that's what I want to be doing today, is sorting out some of the small components that I can put on the board, know I can get away with, not having to make up these other component parts. So I have one variable resistor, there, which is tuning. Oh, it could be a capacitor. I don't know, I'll have to look. It's a variable anyway, so one more resistor there coming out. I want them on the board. That's a bit of wire for making up the toroids. There's a bit more wire, as I've got to bind 2 lengths of this together, so they make like in a coil. So I've got to coil that and then thread it through the various frequencies that we're going to be using this for. Basically 10 meters is what I want to use it for, so I might not need some of the toroids. Anyway, we have a load of capacitors in there, and the toroid rings, and some diodes, and some small resistors in there. So that's my small build for today. So we have a couple of component parts there that I'm a bit reluctant really to put these on the board, because I think that would make too much of a thing at the moment, because there's other things that have to go on as well. So I'm going to leave them off. Oh, I could put them on, I don't know. No. So they never sent me the socket for this. I think they think I'm supposed to have one. Yeah, well, I haven't got one. Anyway, that's our little project for today, and we have a pair of wires here. I've just switched on the soldering iron for me to start putting some of these component parts on the board. Now these, I'm going to stand these, what they call standoff. So when they go on the board, they're not flush with the board, so they stand off a little bit. That's why they're called standoffs. And what I'm doing now is I'm positioning the smell the soldering iron cooking here. We'll see if that's right, and then I'll set them all to the same. So there we go. Now I want these standing off about 1/4 of an inch. They've got to be bent right at the right point here, because they've got to be bent right at the resistor itself. That's a bit more fiddly, that is, to do. Resistors 1, 2 and 3, so it's going to be bent right at right at the end of the resistor, otherwise it won't go in the slot. So that's what I was just doing then. So we'll see if that fits, and if it does, we'll sort out which one goes where. Now I need it to stand up just a little tiny bit. Now it's not quite a quarter of an inch, about an eighth of an inch standoff. So there we are. So that's one, but I don't know whether that's the right one because we've got several ones here. Right, I've just upped my soldering iron touching it, so I'm going to get the solder. Now, as I said, I'm not really happy about this solder. I might change it, I don't know. I always use a little tiny bit of flux paste to help the soldering iron. So what I do is I poke it in, get it smoking nicely. No, seriously, folks, it gets the tip clean, right? So that's the idea of me doing that. It cleans the tip for the start of it, then put some solder on it, on the tip, and then solder the component parts in place. Now, different resistors, resistor 2, 3, 4, quite a number of large resistors around here. Resistor 1 is a smaller one. Resistor 6 is the smaller one too, so I'll have to check it out. We've got 1, 2, brown, black, red. That's 100k, I believe. They got to be on the board. So if you've got really good nails, a good way to bend these close to the without using a pair of pliers is to bend them over like this and then check it on the board, make sure it's going to go in that slot. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I've only got 2 of these, so they can only go here, and these are going to stand off as well, a little bit, not much. So I might be making too much of a thing here, I don't know, with my talking. I don't know whether it's going to get you down and up or whatever, you know, but right, that's that one. And that's that one. Brown, black, red, brown, black, red. This one. Resistor 6, I think it is. Looks like a 6. So they're going to be standing off the board a little bit, not flush with the board, because if these things overheat when you're transmitting, the last thing you want to do is get these things too hot that it burns the board. So we need to stop that from happening by keeping the resistors a little bit high on the board. Around about that height it will do, I think. So when I'm soldering these on, I shall push them down a little bit. So we will start soldering now. If we don't start now, looks like as if we never will. So, need a bit of solder on the tip before we go, just to tin the tip of the Now, one thing I was taught to do when making a border is run the soldering iron up the board slightly so that the solder sticks to the leg of the resistor. Now have a look and see. They look alright. They look okay. Right, that's that job. We've got red, red, brown. One red, red, brown. God, shoot. Like it when we've got lots of different colours. Great. Really is. Yellow, purple, brown. Yellow, purple, brown. Two of those. And there's two orange, orange, brown, oh, black, 0, orange, orange, black is 0, brown is 1, black is 0. Let's see if I can bend this right. You've got to bend this right. I'm going to have to find the book, because I need to know which ones of these go where. So we're going to have to these are gold ends. Is that gold end? Yeah, these are gold ends. Sometimes they're silver, sometimes they're gold. So we will find where the other big resistors go and see if we can't get a home for them. Some surface mounting was already done, by the way. I'm not a surface mounter myself. I've never really got into it, but I suppose if push came to shove and I've got the right tips here, I've got several tips with the soldering iron. I can do this, there's no problem. I can definitely take them off the board. Wouldn't want to mind, because it looks like as if there's also track inside the board. So when I'm doing the soldering, I've got to solder top and bottom by the looks of it, just so that it makes the grade. Without further ado, I will get on and bend some more of these things and get them ready for the board, and I shall open the book and find out where they got to go on the board. So oh dear. They're neatly bent, aren't they? Eh? That look good? I think it does anyway. Eh? What did you say? What you can do better? Eh? Can you really? Well, there we are. We've got to put all this on one side for a second whilst I sort out. Oh God, I've got another brown, black, red small resistor here. Where's that one go? I think it goes there. No, there's 3 the other smaller resistors, they can go on another day. But I won't be going through all this all the time. I'm just trying to set the camera up in the right position and go from there. So right, that's standing proud. Standing where the logic begins. That's good. So, it's soldered not too bad, really, folks. Came with the kit. There's a soldering iron station here. You can buy from Amazon if you really want to go down that road. And Amazon are fairly reasonable with their stock. All those resistors are the same, so find them for another day. I might continue this later on. I've got to go and do my potatoes and my vegetables for my dinner. Right, now here we are. We're back on, what is it, day number 2 of doing this job. I could have finished it yesterday, but I had to stop because I had to go and do dinner. Then whilst the vegetables were cooking, I decided to put some extra component parts on the board, as you can see here. And this morning I've been fiddling about and I've been trying to sort out 1 or 2 component parts to go on the board today. Everything else appears to be right. We've got the main starter transistor there in place, so I've bent the wires and I've put them into place there. So I've been trying to follow this diagram best I can. We're on the part now where we're putting the capacitor onto the board and the LEDs. Well, I had to make sure on making the right bend on the LEDs. So this is the green one. This is ready to go on the board, and I have going to hold it like this so you can get a close look at it on the camera angle. No, it doesn't like it, I'm afraid. So I followed the instructions practically to the letter. I'm building this board how I see fit, not how it says in the book. I'm going to try and bend. Now, if I remember rightly, the shorter leg is the positive leg. So that they're asking me to bend the short leg straight down from the body of the LED. So that is not easy to do. Then the other one has to be bent. These are very, very tiny LEDs, really small. Right, that's the one bent. I don't know whether we can see that or not. And then we bend the other one. It says 1 centimetre down, because of the location it's got to go in when it fits onto the board. Right, now then, so there we are. Right, there's my two LEDs. One is for the power on light and the other one is for the transmit light. So anyways, I'm going to try and connect all my capacitors, the two LEDs and these nice coloured here capacitors onto the board. I've been looking at the way to make these toroids up now. I've got some insulation tape and I've connected these two together. They're supposed to be connected like that. Right, now then, let's have a look and see if we have a single capacitor going on the board, because that one will be the one I want to do. You see, they didn't mark. If it had been me sending this out, I would have marked on the back here what they were for people like myself who can't read what it says on there, if you know what I mean. I definitely need a magnifying glass. I wish they'd have marked these a little bit more clearly, because I can't see what they say they are. Well, as much as I wanted to put them on the board, I can't put them on the board without I can see them, and I can't see them. Well, that's a bit of a pain. So, I've gone to a lot to try and get this far, and up to yet I haven't done a bit of soldering. I've been playing with component parts. Just put the soldering iron on. It won't take long to cook up, and as soon as it's cooked and it's ready for the off, I will get ready for solder. A bit of solder into the iron. Ow. Well, whatever you do, don't touch yourself with the iron. I just. There we are. Yeah. Now there's a little job. Well done, I think. What do you think, guys? Considering the circumstances, not bad at all. I was doing this yesterday and these things were flying off straight at my face. Trying to be very careful. Of course, these pincers are magnetically charged, can't be bothered to discharge them either. Might as well put that on the board like can. We'll rest that on top while I solder that in place. Now the reason for resting it on top of there is because it is the type of thing that could burn out if it has too much heat on it. So I like to do my best to try and keep heat off it by attaching some metal which would act as a bit of a heat sink while I'm soldering to the board. So the component will stay that's that one. Now I think it's necessary to do the underside of this one. I don't know why. We'll try and be quick. There we are. Now, the other two big transistors, these two have got metal plating on the back, so they are connected to the heatsink. They fit on the board like that in the right place. I have to adjust that because it's not quite right. It has to go that way a bit, but I can only do that when I connect them to the board. They've got to be soldered down. Either that or I move the bend already, but I don't want to be doing that just now. I might just break the straightening them out and then bending them back again. Just might break them off, and I don't want to do that. So I'd rather try and do a residual bend and then bend it back again to push it further into the middle of the hole where it's supposed to be. So we'll do this one last, and we'll put the two LEDs on, the red one and the green one in their respective places, so that when they go on the board they will fit correctly. This is going to take some doing, I can tell you. I'm going to have to be very quick with this. Otherwise I'll burn myself. Now we get a bit of solder on there. Red one. This one first. They're all shut. Oh! Burning finger. Oh, you guessed! Oh, right. Is that holding? That's holding, okay. No, presume that's right. Should presume that should be. Yeah, but if I move it, it's going to fall. Yep. Made a solder rich, can't have that. see this is going to be a hard, painstaking job. Trying to keep it in camera shot while I'm doing the soldering, just so that you guys out there can see what I'm doing. Thinking of those two different things, really. Oh, I think it's right. Not happy about that. I don't need this slightly crooked. There we are. That's better. I'll soon find out. Now, I found out something earlier. Peter's just done the sort of thing now. So we have got that so far now. Now I couldn't fit this component part on this component part here on this side of the board because of this toroid that fits on here. So we have to align the toroid and we have to align this underneath on the board. That's where these fit, on the underneath side of the board. There we are. That looks good. Any of you whiz kids out there that can solder as good as this when you're as old as me, please let me know. Right, now then, there's a little tip. When these guys sent this out to me, I was going, well, where's the screws? Where's the bolts for the screws? The nuts, sorry, where's the nuts for the bolts? I then found out that the guys down at Quartz Lab put threads inside the heat sinks. So when you come to screw the heat sink down, a screw here, 2 screws here and 2 screws here. When you screw it down, it then locks everything into place. Anyways, I just want to put this in here properly, of course. Back in here for a short moment while I explain a little bit. Right. Now, where's the top parts of the boxes here? No. They made this so this would slide this way. Oh, I see. Okay, perhaps we can't do that too after we've cut those little legs off. Somebody could have told me about that, you know. You could have done, really. Yeah. Well. No, I don't know. Okay. No wonder I couldn't. I was trying to get it to go in with the pliers. Ah, dear. There we are. That's gone in there, and that's very short of touching now. What you do before you actually marry all this lot up is make sure your red LED and your green LED are lined up with the actual box, so that when you screw it all together with the actual supplied screws, 2 screws to go in there and 2 screws to go in the bottom there, and when those screws are in, all this will be locked up tight, and then there's 2 screws to go in this part of the box up here, and 2 screws to hold the here, one this side and one on this side where my finger is pointing it out. There's a screw there and a screw here and there, one here. So there we are. So that's what it looks like when it's finished. Obviously it's not finished, but I'm going to carry on. I have other things to do at the moment, so I'm going to have to call it a bit of a day. Right, setting up for another part of making this small linear. Now at the moment I'm just in the throes of making these little things here, and they're a little bit fiddly to make. Usually I've bought these things already made, and I've never had to do this when I've been building a board in the past. But now I'm sort of like thrown in the deep end, you might say, and I've got this little project to do. It's only a small thing, and I didn't think it was going to cause me any problems. It's not a problem really, you know. I mean, getting those things bent into the right position so that the holes were central when they went on the underneath side of here, like this, and getting them central to the holes wasn't very easy. They've got to go on the underside of the board. These 2 little items, the power output transistors, which I'm trying to make this 10 meters. I have enough power on the 20 meters the other side of the life, but I will test this on 20 meters when I have done it, and I will then test it on 10 meters on low power going in and see how much power I've got coming out. I think that's going to be the general gist of things. We'll do the test into a dummy load that I have here somewhere. Anyway, the bench is as much as I left it, except I had a friend around the weekend, a G8, and GON came around with his little meter and tested it. I could not see, so he wrote down the numbers that he thought they should be. We then checked the numbers with a powerful magnifier. We've got all those numbered now, and so we know what is what and whereabout they've got to go on the board, which I will endeavour to do as soon as I can. And we've got these 2 little brown capacitors here. They're special ones, just to try and fix this toroid up. I'll show you how I am doing it. There's the little lighter. Now when I say little, I mean extremely small. There's a pair of side cutters, and that toroid just fits right on top of there, and I've got to make another one of these. Now, I made this yesterday. I thought I would test my idea out of what I thought I needed. So I measured a little bit, made one turn on there and worked out that I needed 2.5 millimeters. So it needs to be about as long as that there. So that's about 10 inches, right? It's 2.5 really, but there we are. So we put the measure up. I don't know whether they've allowed spare on this or not, but I've got to make some where I've got to wind 3 lots of wire together to make one of the toroids, one of the bigger toroids, and 10 windings. Now these have got to have 13 windings on. That one there's got 14 windings on, but I want it for 10 meters. So I've just cut myself a piece of wire, as no doubt you've seen me do. So I need about 4 or 5 centimeters sticking out at the front. All right, yeah, right. That one has got to go. Oh dear. Down. Oh dear. Yeah. Started right, finished wrong. Of course, I've got to scuff the wire to get these into place. Got to solder them down and put them in place. Well, there we are. That's that done, and we are, I presume, part way through the build at this point. I've got all the resistors on that are needed on. I've got 2 main capacitors on. I have got these 2 little brown capacitors to put on, and then the blue capacitors, they've got to go on. They're all different sizes, as I said. The diodes are on, the LEDs are on, all these diodes are on. They were on the board when I got them, and a lot of other surface mounted components were on the board from Quartz Slab, and hopefully this will work 100%. Well, that depends on the builder, I suppose, and that builder is me. And I've never built anything like this before, I can assure you. Whenever I needed anything like this, it came already made. So that made it a lot easier to make and place on the board. I'm sure you all understand that anyway, but there we are. Well, here we are again, folks. Another day, another dollar. Well, I've been trying to work out how to get these toroids sorted out and get these coils turned. I've started this one. I've done that one that's on there, the black one. There's 3 yellow ones are done and ready. They're not totally clean yet, but there are you on the board. I'm going to continue turning this and making the coil that I'm supposed to be. One piece of this has got 2 black markings on, and one piece has got 1 black marking on. Is recommended for it, so there we are. I don't know whether or not the camera picked that up, but I've got the same on the other end. I marked them before I started coiling them together, but coming to thread it onto the place where it's got a house to might be a different story altogether, because it's got to go on here. Yeah. And then so right, now then, with the powers of magic and everything else, we start by doing this. It's not easy to push these. It's blooming hard work, this is. A friend of mine offered to do this job for me, and I said no. I said I prefer to do it myself. You know what? I wished I'd have took him up on the offer. Oh dear. I might still have to go and check that out with the multimeter after, and make sure that the 2 double black ones and the, because I can't see them now, I don't know where they are, where the markings are. They're inside here. I still can't see which is which. I know this long one is the last one wired, that's this one. Oh dear. And they have to go opposite each other on the board. Now, should I put the rest of the components on the board that needs to go on the board? I don't know whether I showed you these transistors, but I found a way that I had to bring these wires into line. And I have to scuff those wires. I wound this one wrong, wound them 2 right. Don't know whether you can see that or not. This one and this one I wound the right way. This one I wound it the opposite way round. It doesn't matter which way the windings go through. Well, I don't think it does. Anyways, there we are. Okay, now then, here we are. We're at the thyroid stage of this project. Oh, my board's over there. Damn it. I would go and forget something, wouldn't I? Anyway, quick favours never hurt nobody. But I haven't soldered these on the board yet. But there's a good reason for that. We all have different methods of doing things, and so do I. This is actually a nail file, industrial nail file. for industrial nails. So I had an idea that what's covering these is something like nail varnish. A good way to get rid of nail varnish off your fingernails or toenails or wherever you wish to put it is to file it off. So I decided, in my infinite wisdom, to get rid of the coating that's on here this way. And this has got to be 10 windings. This was not easy to do, but there we are. Two of these got the black coating on, and these two here have got the black coating on. Now I can marry them up, that's no problem. I can use a multimeter I've got here somewhere over there. I'll get the book to tell me where to put all these things. I need the book basically for the installation of the small capacitors. So I will be installing those next. I presume the camera picking that noise up. Well, it's a little house sparrow, and it's got an company of a pigeon outside. Oh well. Once these are soldered into place, they're not going to move. Well, I don't think they are. Got room for capacitors on. Capacitors go here, 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 here. These capacitors are put on already. I presume you can see what I'm pointing to. If I get my big fingers out of the way. These resistors, these are 2 watt resistors. They're fairly big, heavy duty resistors to cope with the 50 watts coming out of the 2 back-to-back transistors, which are fed by this one here. We can go into more detail in a minute on what's what, and 2 little capacitors soldered on the board, and this one goes here. Try and keep it away from the place where I don't want it to be. This one. Yeah. Right. We filed all of those, so solder should go on without any problem. A friend of mine said the other day, best way to have done this would have been to have dipped them in a hot vat of solder, and he said that would have stripped it off. Now I've got to go and get the book. I've got to rescue the book from the chair. This one goes here, and this one goes here, and the black bits have got to go in the right place. Right, as I think I've shown you this before, I'll show it you again, what it is we are hoping to achieve. This is the project from QRP Labs, and I am now in the middle of putting it together. Anyway, I need the book basically for when I put the little capacitors on the board. So that's what I went and got the book for. I didn't want to get halfway through the capacitors, then have to go and get the book and say, oh, that's the wrong one in the wrong place, or that one's not supposed to be on the board, or whatever. Anyway, there's a couple of little things that I've got to sort out. File this just a little bit more. make sure that you clear all the way to the where we're going to mount it onto the board. Right, these two at the back and these two at the front. I did that deliberately because one has got a really long ribbon, and I said, well, that can be the front one. So, come on, promise me that. Get in the hole. Come on. Yeah, come on. He's going to play in the corner. Go on. There. I can't see any track on the top of the board, but there's track inside as well. And these the soldering joints here go right through the board. So if there's any track attaching themselves to this transformer type thing, definitely attached there with a thick, and it's definitely attached there to the centre, and it's definitely attached there to the centre. Then it attaches to the other end of the first big round one. That's this one. So that one goes in there and goes in there. Oops. That fits on there. Not this way up, obviously, the other way up. But I want to solder these on, this on, this on, this on, this on. And when I've got all these little bits soldered on, I can get them cut out of the way, because I've got a feeling some of these little things are going to get in my way. So I'm going to have to solder them down. Get the solder iron on. And switch this on. Going around to about 400 and some odd degrees. We'll have that at 400 odd degrees, and when we've got that at 400, and yeah, it's there now. There are two little black dots there and there, which means this is at temperature. So whatever I do, I don't touch that bit even if I want to, which I don't want to. Anyway, I always clean the end of my soldering iron, and I always tin it with a little bit of flux. See the smoke coming off that? We've put a bit of flux on there. Now we need to put a bit of solder on there. I've got this very thin solder. I never liked using this thin stuff. Not this one anyway, because it's not very good. We'll start off with these two little tiny capacitors. Now, as I've said before on my videos, which I will say again, because I like repeating, make sure you've got a good joint come up your component arm, and that way you ensure a good solder joint. So there we are, a good tip on soldering. You don't have to take my word for it, but there we are. I don't think I cleaned that off altogether. I've got it jointed. That's fine. Okay. Let's take note. There we are. Come on. Right, and you. More. Right. Right. Oh. That got slightly warm. Never mind. It's only hot, it won't burn me. Just do that. Wide up. Good joint, good joint, good joint, good joint. Nearly a good joint all the way around. There's a little hole, but the solder's really caught well, so. Scrutinise all this with a microscope, probably. My call sign is my name on here. My radio am call is 7 KTE. Right, I think it's time to put a little bit up now that we don't want on. Oh, we've got one more to go before I put the two big ones. Right, nice and clean. The pigeon outside decided to come in the flat here and came in through his balcony doors, and he's having a good go at eating the peanuts in the box. Unfortunately, he hasn't got the knack of taking the lid off, and he doesn't know about that. That wasn't thin enough. Only thin in the tea. No, it is only still thin in the tea. Now we're nearly done with this board, would you believe? Not? No. Okay. Whatever. Bit of copper for anybody who wants a bit of copper. Oh. Always close my eyes just before it quits. Just in case it goes in my eye. Oh dear. Don't like the look of that one. That one doesn't look like the difference. It is on, mind. Oh, shut the first there, shouldn't I? Well, the job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And never mend anything that's not broken. My dad used to say. If it isn't broken, do not mend it. Right, says I. But Dad, I want to have a look inside. Well, you don't need to look inside, it's not broke. I want to see how it works. But Dad would not let me take the radio to bits. I don't know why. But perhaps I do now. Oh dear. There we are, folks. 3 of them on the board, 4 of them on the board, and the 2 big toroids to go. Now there's a reason why I've left all this to last, is because and the capacitors, all these things should have been done first, according to the religious book. So I now have the hardiest task of putting the transistors on the board on this. Right. Now they have to go in a special way, you believe? Yeah, of course you would, because I just said so. Now, according to this, they're soldered at the top on all 3, but one is soldered on the bottom on all 3, on one of the legs, I should say. One of the legs, where is it? I think they're Q1, Q2, QRP lamps is on the bottom as well as demonstrates that. Right. Now that's one, and it's the opposite ends on the board when it's upside down. So now I don't know whether this is just to get it right. They should be central holes. There they are. We'll look at it anyway. So we put these on here. We solder this leg and this leg, according to this, on this side. On the other side we solder all 3. So it's this leg here, this leg here. Well, let's not forget that. So we'll do that job next. I know it should be last, or one of the last things, according to the book. But unfortunately, Peter doesn't do things like that. I got my friend who devised this book up for me, and he said that he will put it through its paces and see if it's working all right on the frequencies that I want to use it on. So I said to him, thank you very much for that, I appreciate it. And I'll give you a mention in the video. I don't think he was very good without having his language or his course language. There we are, anyway. Right now I don't need the solder around the other side. Solder's on. That's getting rather warm. Right. They're both on. The reason why I'm not going to solder on the other side is, yes, I want to make sure that they're sound as they can be. Because when they go in here, now like this, these things have got to clear. I put the little plastic things in between the what's stopping my tongue? Right. Now, well, I've got it on. They both look alright. They look alright to you guys. Eh? I think they do to me anyway, so I think that's what matters more than anything else right now. I need to solder all those on, and I need to solder them on before I put the tarawaves on. Oh, it doesn't matter, does it? I think that's the reason why the tarawaves were supposed to go on first, though, because of cutting the surplus wires off the board and they're too close to here. I can do it though. I can. I'm sure I can. Anyway, that's solid on there. That's solid on there. That's not going anywhere. Then I've got two little screws to go all the way through. Those little blue things have got to come back on the top of the board and be placed on here with the heatsink paste pads, I think. I've got no glue for these. That'll be alright so long as it doesn't fall off. Yeah, I think it will. I think it will fall off. That was the reason why I put it under there. Oh dear. Right, now then, next job is these things. Well, so maybe it's time to get the multimeter out now. The thing is, I don't want to be putting them on the board right now. I just want to say, let's say they've been done. I want to do them later on. I don't want to get making mistakes. Not on the video, but let's just say they've been done. Done and dusted. And I am going to now tie these two things onto the board properly. These two transistors give me my power output and the input power and the output power through the board. So let's see what we can do with this one. No, this is the quietest you ever hear me when I'm busy. Ever you hear me rabbiting away because I'm not busy. I'm not doing something that I've got to concentrate on. And there we are. Concentration, you see. Look at that lovely solder joint on there. Let's see if we can do the same on the other side and we'll do that. Again. Never stay on my lap. Leave it on there. Right, a bit more solder please. Keep getting stuck. And if you, see I've done something wrong, or you think I could have done it better another way, could you please let me know? I'm not really a beginner at this, but I hasten to add. I've got a few candles on my cake at the moment, so I'm having another one in September. Or turns on the coil, as they say, in better circles. Come on, sink on there. Come on, get on. I think the idea of anchoring that in the first place on this one pin on the other side of the board was so that when you did this, you've got to make sure you're not connected. Right. Yeah. Oh dear. Right. A nice little solder iron. This cost around about £43 from a certain company called got A in the name anyway, so ouch, that's got bloody money. Certainly did. It's not on the heatsink, so the heatsink helps. Get these off, and then we'll get the little capacitors on, if I can manage to pick up the book off the floor without getting my helping hand to help me. Looked all the world to me as if it's bridging, got a bridging joint here. Yeah, that looks all right. That centre one doesn't look right. That's that up, I can tell you. I made a big ridge upstairs. Right. Now, yes, let go. Now, of course, when I give this to my friend, I will tell him to watch out for bridges. Tell him to watch out for bridges because there might be the odd one or two things that might be causing bridges. So, for those who don't know what a bridge is, obviously a lot of you guys who are watching this will tell me that I made a bridge here or I made a bridge there. A bridge is when the solder from this connection goes onto this connection and they're not supposed to be connected. Otherwise, if they are supposed to be connected, it isn't a bridge. So a lot of these things are not bridge related. Nearly all of them are not bridge related, but I don't know about the things that were already on the board. Now sometimes a bridge can take place between one spot on the board and another spot on the board, where you would run one wire from to another spot on the board, which would have to be a linking wire. And there's certain places that has not got to have resistors on for certain frequencies, so I must take that into consideration as well. So there we are. All that's left for me to do actually is to put this gingerly up here, and I know now for a fact. Have I? No, don't think so. No. I was looking to see if I'd moved that. Yeah, I did. I moved it. Oh well. Now, I have got to get the short nose pliers and just move this little thing over just a tad because it wasn't fitted properly. No. Alright, now there we are, folks. That is what the end product will look like. And that's in its entirety. So I'm going to close this and say that's all, folks. I'll put the little capacitors on. You won't see me do that, and no doubt you won't see me test it, but in a later video I will show you this thing up and running either on 20 meters or where I want it to be on 10 meters. Don't think it was actually made for 10, but if I can get it on 10 I will, because that's where I want it. On an old radio that's been converted from 11 to 10 meters. So for those of you who know, 11 meter band is the old CB band. So thank you for having my company in your humble abode, and this is G7 KTE, showing part of my face here, saying goodbye to you all, be careful, and we'll catch you on the flip flop, as they used to say.